welcome to the King of Iron Fist tournament. Well, 3. We're going back. This is Tekken Bloodlines, or Bloodline. And I have seen the first episode, and this is exactly how you produce a video game adaptation. Now, we've had video game adaptations that have been good. We've had the Mortal Kombat animes from Warner Brothers. They're wicked. I like those. We've had Assassin's Fist, Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, which was a Machinima, I think, series, but you can get it on Blu-ray DVD very cheap. I suggest you go and get that. It's great. We've had the Street Fighter 2 anime. You know, the list can go on and on. There was some decent CGI Resident Evil films. I think Degeneration and Damnation were both pretty cool. But ultimately, the best one to date that I can think of is Castlevania, you know, the anime series. And we're getting a new series as well, following Richter Belmont. But that was done really, really well. Paid homage. You could tell the creators were fans of Castlevania, and it gave fans of that series everything they wanted. And it made me go back and play and finally finish Symphony of the Night. Yes, I know, blasphemy. Why haven't you finished that game already? It's because I didn't own it as a kid. I didn't grow up with it, you know, or a teen. And there are other games I sort of grew with, and Castlevania wasn't one of them. Yes, I know, I kick myself now. It's worth a pretty penny. Not that I'd sell it, to be honest, but anyway. But I was able to play the ROM and thoroughly enjoyed, you know, Symphony of the Night. Whereas before, I didn't really get the hype surrounding Castlevania. The anime series is what got me into that, and me wanting to see Alucard's story through to the end and get all the endings, etc., etc. But yeah, there's been some good video game adaptations in the past. Tekken Bloodline has a lot to live up to, especially following on from Castlevania. And also we're getting the Tomb Raider anime coming out soon, so you know, it's sort of in the middle. It's in between Castlevania, something that's done it perfectly well, and then Tomb Raider, which hopefully does, and Bloodline sits in the middle. Now, for a lot of us Tekken fans, I'm a huge die-hard Tekken fan. Tekken is my favourite fighting game series of all time. I started off being a Mortal Kombat fan, you know, when I was a kid, because of the blood, the guts, you know, the characters, etc., etc., how dark it was, the levels, everything. And then Tekken came along, and I used to play Tekken 2. I didn't actually own Tekken 2, but I, you know, played it with a friend who owned it, and we played versus matches, did all the character endings, took turns doing that. A lot of you will have done that in your life, you know, with your friends and stuff. Is completed endings together and then played versus matches. And it was Tekken 3 that was my first Tekken that I owned, and I sat down, and I kid you not, I played that game for I think months, and that was it. After that, I've owned and still own and have played every single Tekken game up to 5. The only ones that I missed out on were Tournament 2, it passed me by, and Tekken 6, which I wasn't a big fan of. But up to 5, brilliant, stellar, like one of the best, most longest running fighting game series to still keep that fire, you know, and still keep people interested and just top themselves every time. And Tekken 7 came out, that was it. It was a wrap, it was over. Like, Tekken 7 is one of the best fighting games of all time. So Tekken Bloodline, going back to the Tekken 3 storyline, we're going to start talking about the actual first episode. Going back to the Tekken 3 storyline, we don't ever get to see the events that play out before Tekken 3. But here we get to see Jun living with Jin in a forest, basically near a village or a town, and they're secluded. Definitely, there's still people from the town and stuff that are trying to like bully Jin. You know, some of the kids, things like that. The dad gets involved. Jun kicks his ass. There's not going to be that many spoilers in this. I want to keep it spoiler free for when I've watched, you know, every episode of the series, and then I can get into spoilers and talk about what I think about the series as a whole. But for a first episode, this is incredible. This is how you do an adaptation of something like Tekken or any video game franchise. It's incredible. What can I say? I love it. I love it. The animation's a bit choppy at first. You have to get used to the very the very kind of edged, you know, sort of bodies and outlines and stuff, and that's cool. That's just their animation style. Mortal Kombat has its own animation style. I had to get used to loads of things too. But once you do, it's so well done. It looks to business. I love it. I'm trying to talk about it without getting into too many spoilers. So it's Jun and Jin, and Jun is trying to teach Jin to hold his anger, you know, to control himself in situations where he gets into fights and things. And she sees him nearly go sort of overboard and past that point when he's fighting the bullies and he finally loses his temper. Because at first you're seeing him get beat up and you think, what the hell? Like, why is Jin getting his ass kicked? You think, is this going to be one of those sort of stories where he's completely weak and helpless and whatnot, and then you know, he learns to become more powerful? No, he's already fucking powerful. Like, young Jin is already worthy of kicking 3 dudes' asses, like grown dudes as well, because of the Kazama, you know, style. But yeah, so Jun intercepts, and you know, we get that whole thing where she's like, you must control your anger, and etc, etc, and we all know because Kazuya's his father, and you know, if you're a Tekken fan, don't have to go into detail, but we all understand, because if Kazuya gets angry and he gets more angry, then the devil gene is, you know, fired up. So yeah, it's great, and I don't want to ruin too much. I'm not going to get into too much. We all know, kind of, if you're a fan of Tekken, whether it's been retconned or not, a certain thing that happens with Jun, you know, in the intro in Tekken 3, that's been retconned, so I don't want to ruin it. Obviously, if you're a Tekken fan, you're already going to know what happens, but you know, for the rest of you that aren't familiar with Tekken 3, and this is going to make you go back and play that, or you know, you started with Tekken 4 or Tekken 5 onwards, or even Tekken 7, then I don't want to ruin anything. That's the thing. This is for a new audience as well as the older heads like myself. But yeah, there's a slight way that something happens to Jun that's retconned, but everything else within this story still happens and has happened in the canon. So yeah, this is going to be a very short video really, because I don't want to ruin too much. The audio, sound, you know, the intro is wicked. The animation style is cool. I like it. You know, it's not as jarring as, say, something like Mortal Kombat, Scorpion's Revenge, and Defenders of the Realm, or I forget what it's, not Defenders of the Realm, I forget what the name of the second one was, but it was wicked. It's just not as jarring as that. It's not as good as Castlevania's animation, just because, you know, it's sort of old school Castlevania's animation, and I think it was an animation style that I really liked. This is kind of in the middle of Mortal Kombat and Castlevania. The characters are done brilliantly. I like the voice actors for Jun and Jin so far. And yeah, that's about it really, because I've only watched the first episode, but these are my initial thoughts. But I'm very, very happy. Very, very happy. Like, this is how you do it, you know. I can't wait to watch every episode, and I think I'm going to watch every episode today. They're only short, otherwise I'd just be playing Donkey Kong Country Returns, you know, on my 3DS, or I'd be watching YouTube, and I have to have a break from those two things. So yeah, as it stands, this is great. I'm loving it, and if it keeps up the same pace and the same quality throughout the whole series, it'll be one to buy, definitely, if you're a Tekken fan, when it comes out on DVD, it gets released, or, you know, Blu-ray. So yeah, brilliant. Those are my initial thoughts. I will update you guys when I've watched the whole series, but until then, this is how you do a video game adaptation. And Capcom, take notes. Warner Brothers, Mortal Kombat, take notes if you want to do Mortal Kombat 2, the sequel to live action Mortal Kombat, which, you know, as I've watched it more and more, isn't that bad. I'm finding more respect for it, but still it's not perfect, and the second film needs to be a bit more perfect. So Warner Brothers, Capcom, any other video game company, take note, this is how you do it. Let me know what you guys think about the Tekken animated series. Try not to spoil it, try not to, you know, have any spoilers when you're talking about it, but what are your initial thoughts of it all, and do you share the same thoughts as me? You know, until next time, I've been SystemCheck66. If you like the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you like me as a content creator, and I'm out of it.